Let me paint a picture. You finally decide to get your financial life together. You stop buying random stuff at 2 a.m., cut back on those overpriced coffee runs, and start moving money into your savings account every month. $100 here, $200 there. You feel like a financial superhero. Then one day, you check your banking app and notice you've got $10,000 sitting in savings. Nice, right? Well, maybe. You look closer and realize that your account is earning around 0.5% interest. After an entire year, your reward for being responsible, is roughly $50. $50. That's basically one grocery trip and half a tank of gas. Meanwhile, everywhere you look, people are talking about investing. Stocks, index funds, compound growth, retirement accounts. Suddenly you're wondering, wait, have I been playing the money game on easy mode this whole time? Here's the truth. Saving money is important, but saving alone rarely creates real wealth. And that's where many people get stuck. They know they should save. They've heard they should invest, but nobody explains how to make the jump from one to the other without feeling like they're gambling their life savings. So in this video, we're breaking down a simple, step-by-step roadmap for turning a saver into an investor, without losing sleep every time the stock market sneezes. First, let's clear up a huge misconception. Saving money and building wealth are not the same thing. Think of saving as parking your car in a garage. It's protected. It's safe. Investing is putting that car into a race. One protects your money, the other gives it a chance to grow. Both matter, but they serve completely different purposes. And understanding that difference is where your financial journey really begins. Let's talk numbers for a second. Don't worry, this isn't the boring kind of math that made everyone stare out the classroom window. Imagine you put $10,000 into a regular savings account earning about 1% interest. After 1 year, you'd have roughly $10,100. Not terrible. Your money grew a little. Now let's compare that to investing. Historically, the S&P 500 has averaged around 10% annual returns over long periods. Of course, some years are better, some are worse, but that's the long-term average. If that same $10,000 earned 10% in a year, you'd end up with around $11,000. At first glance, the difference doesn't seem life-changing. An extra $900? Nice, but not exactly private jet money. But here's where things get interesting. Most people focus on what happens in 1 year. Wealthy investors focus on what happens in 20. Let's fast forward. That $10,000 sitting in savings, at 1% for 20 years, grows to roughly $12,200. The same $10,000 invested and growing at 10% annually becomes about $67,000. Same starting point, same person, same money, completely different ending. And that's why the biggest financial divide often isn't between people who spend and people who save. It's between people who save and people who invest. So if the math is so powerful, why doesn't everyone do it? Because the real challenge isn't numbers, it's emotions. Saving feels comfortable. Your account balance doesn't bounce around every day. You can log in whenever you want and see the same money sitting there peacefully, like it's taking a nap. Investments don't behave that way. Some days they're up, some days they're down. And occasionally, they decide to act like a toddler after eating too much sugar. That movement scares people. Nobody enjoys seeing their account drop on a random Tuesday afternoon, which is why many people avoid investing altogether. But here's the good news. You don't have to choose between being safe and investing. The smartest approach is learning how to transition gradually instead of throwing all your money into the market at once. And that's exactly what we're going to cover next. So how do you actually make the jump from saving to investing without feeling like you're walking a financial tightrope? Simple. You do it in stages. Step 1. Build an emergency fund. Before investing a single dollar, make sure you have enough cash saved to cover about 3 to 6 months of living expenses. And no, this money is not for investing. It's not your "maybe I'll buy stocks with it" fund. It's your "my car just exploded" fund. Your "the water heater died at the worst possible moment." This money stays in cash because emergencies don't send calendar invites. Here's something many beginners don't realize. One of the biggest reasons people panic and sell investments at the worst possible time is because they suddenly need the money. An emergency fund protects you from that mistake. Next, separate your money into 2 categories. Think of it as 2 buckets. Bucket number 1 is safety money. This is your emergency fund and short-term cash. Bucket number 2 is growth money. This is money you're willing to leave alone for years so it can grow. Once you mentally separate these 2 buckets, Investing becomes a lot less stressful because you know your safety net is already covered. Now comes the part that surprises most people. You don't need thousands of dollars to start investing. Many investment platforms let you begin with as little as $50 or $100. The goal isn't getting rich next week. If that worked, we'd all be retired on a beach somewhere, arguing about which flavor of smoothie to order. The real goal is building the habit. Because successful investing isn't about finding the perfect
moment. It's about showing up consistently, and when you're ready to invest, keep it simple. A lot of beginners jump straight into day trading, options, meme stocks, or whatever social media is hyping this week.
But simple often wins. That's why many experienced investors prefer low-cost index funds. Instead of trying to guess which company will be the next big winner, an index fund spreads your money across hundreds of companies at once. Less guessing, more diversification, less stress. And historically, it's been one of the most effective long-term strategies available. Now here's the part most people completely overlook. The most powerful investing strategy isn't exciting. In fact, it's kind of boring. And that's exactly why it works. It's called consistent investing. Let's say you invest $300 every month into a diversified stock market fund. If your investments average around 8% annually, after 25 years, you'd end up with roughly $285,000. Sounds impressive, right? But here's the crazy part. Out of that amount, only about $90,000 came directly from your pocket. The other $195,000 came from investment growth and compounding. In other words, your money started hiring employees and making money on its own. That's the power of compounding. But to benefit from it, you need something many people struggle with: patience. Because investing can feel uncomfortable, the market drops. News channels start acting like the world is ending. Social media suddenly turns into a giant panic room, and people start making emotional decisions. That's where disciplined investors separate themselves from gamblers. Think about it like planting a tree. Saving money is like keeping a bag of seeds locked in your garage. They're safe, but they're not doing much. Investing is planting those seeds in the ground. At first, it doesn't look impressive. You don't see instant results. Some days it looks like nothing is happening at all. But over time, growth starts to happen beneath the surface. And eventually, you end up with something far larger than the seeds you started with. Now you might be wondering, what if I start investing and the market crashes? Great question, because market crashes aren't unusual. They're part of the process. They've happened many times throughout history. But long-term investors often see downturns differently. When prices fall, your regular monthly contributions buy more shares for the same amount of money. And when markets recover, those extra shares can help boost future returns. That's why experienced investors focus on decades, not headlines. So remember the roadmap. Build a 3 to 6 month emergency fund. Separate safety money from growth money. Start investing with small amounts. Stick with simple investments like index funds. Stay consistent and give compounding time to work. Because saving creates stability, investing creates opportunity. And when you combine both, that's when your money stops sitting around and finally gets to work. If you enjoyed this video, hit subscribe and let me know in the comments. Are you still in the fair? Are you still knowing the saving stage? Or have you already started investing? Because the moment your money starts working for you instead of the other way around, everything changes.